Measure everything and spill everything to you. Just you can make it.
I'm using nylon pliers to make sure I'm going straight to that mandrel. Now it's the fun part. We're soldering all those jump rings one by one. And now I'm showing you a crazy way because I got bored. Hello again. Yes, few days passed. It's a very good way to protect other pieces from getting that hot flame. Now I'm like, just set the stone in. On this video, I even put you in my sink. So I have full control of this pusher.
Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. This time we're doing something different. We're getting back to jewelry making. You know, I just have idea in my head how to make it like beginner friendly as well, just to not overwhelm you with something. But we will play with square wire and we will play with round wire as well, and a bit of different sizes, so you will get a ton of practice on soldering. I will measure everything and spill everything to you. Just you can make it and not to be like, you know, constantly thinking how much of wire I will need or what is the size of the chain, because with jewelry making, you know that it's all about the thickness and the size. We will do a chain for this beautiful turquoise. As you can see, it's stunning, really. And I'm thinking to do a choker necklace or to have it a bit lower, just to hang like this. And of course, you know how it came out already because you saw the picture. I don't know that because we will make it here live on this bench now. So just let's get started.
And we're starting with 10mm thickness of a mandrel on that jump ring maker. But if you don't have a jump ring maker, you can do that on punches. If you have those round punches, just measure that thickness with your measuring tool, and you can do that on that as well. I did way more than I needed. It's 35, we need just 17, but you know, sometimes you mess up. I didn't know how the project would go as well, how long I would choose at the end, so you know, better to have more. As we're cutting those jump rings, we don't want to rush. I'm just like made that on time frame just because it's easier to watch, but it's a long process to cut them. But you want to be as straight as you can on your sewing, because that connecting part will be way easier to do. You don't have to saw as much through, because sometimes you cut not evenly and it's not straight, then you have to correct it. So we want to cut as straight as possible. Of course, it happens when you're cutting that much of a jump rings and you have to correct it. So I'm showing you the way how to do that. Firstly, you are connecting as much as you can. You're creating that spring bag and then coming back with the saw and cutting straight in the middle of that connection and getting the perfect connection without any gap. And now it's the fun part. We're soldering all those jump rings one by one. And for that, I would suggest put a really small amount of solder under your jump rings. For that, we need flatter solder piece, and it should be touching both sides of that jump ring when we're putting that in that middle. We want that just because jump ring has its own weight, so the solder won't go away anywhere. And to have that touching both sides at the same time will make sure that your solder will melt evenly where you want. So we're circling that torch around just to heat the piece evenly as much as we can. And I'm putting that flame more before solder melting to the place I want it would melt. Because as you know, solder is melting on the hottest place of your metal. After that, I'm putting everything in a pickle and one loop I made out of that copper. And after pickling and putting that in the water, you should have this kind of white on the silver, then you would know that everything was pickled perfectly. And now it's inspection time, as I call it. We have to get rid of all the unwanted solder. Sometimes you use way more than you need. You have to get rid of everything that sometimes splashes on your piece as well. You see that yellow on the light, so you have to get rid of that yellow as much as you can. We don't want to see any lines here, so we'll get rid of that line too, and we have that spread out connection all the way through. And now we're actually making chain shape with this tool. I will show you a few ways how to do that if you don't have this tool. We're spreading that round jump ring with this one, and we can do that by using pliers as well. So you see how I'm using round nose pliers, and then I'm using parallel pliers. The only difference here is that you always have flat bottom with that tool I showed you before, and with this one you have to do that more slowly, and and now I'm showing you a crazy way because I got bored and I thought maybe do 3, but actually it doesn't go that well because it's pain for your tool as well. But we got through to that point, and that's it. To make the piece more interesting, we're using hammer and flattening all those spreaded round jump rings. And it's more like tapping with a hammer, so I will show you that from other angle as well, because you don't want to spread that metal. We want to flatten, so you're tapping that from the top to the bottom straightly. I didn't have a square wire I needed, so I made that from 17 gauge wire, same gauge I used for round ones, but I made that to 19 gauge, so we're talking about 1mm wire. When I'm making those jump rings, I was using 6mm mandrel for this one, but you always see I'm using nylon pliers to make sure I'm going straight to that mandrel, and I'm doing that very slow with square wire because all wires are twisting, and with square wire you don't want that twisting at all. So I'm like manipulating even with those nylon pliers and twisting them in different directions that I would get that straight. In this part where you have smaller jump rings, I will show you the way how you can cut it straight, but we're cutting that going inside the jump ring mandrel. It's not easy to cut this way as well, but it keeps you more straight for sure. For this chain I used 17 square wired links. So we are connecting that with our longer chain links. As you can see, I made way more, and actually I made a few earrings after that too because I like the design. And again, we're playing with that spring back because we want to create that tension to have a better joint, because we want to solder joints, not gaps. And again, we're going to that soldering station. When I'm making chains, I usually connect everything in one go and then solder, but it's way harder to understand what is happening. And it's way easier to split everything to few parts. So I'm showing you this way for you that you would understand what is happening if you are a beginner. So we're laying those pieces that joint would be in front of you, and you could solder that freely and you can see better. Soldering takes time for sure, so sometimes it gets frustrated if you are a beginner, so don't rush yourself in these parts. For sure it takes some time. And again, everything goes into pickle, and we have a beautiful white silver after that. And now we will connect everything together. You can spread that in parts again, just to use one link and solder and then come back and connect everything. But now I spread everything in half because we need two sides of the chain connected with that bezel. So I'm just connecting everything in one go. Now I'm just showing you a few ways how you can do that. So for a beginner, I would choose the first way where you are doing that with the third hand, because now you can manipulate more with your soldering and just put that flame exactly where you need that. And this way is a very good way to protect other pieces from getting that hot flame on already soldered connections. On a second way, I'm just making sure that I'm bringing front the pieces I need to solder and solder that way. So as you can see, I'm keeping the flame just on those jump rings, and other chain parts don't even have that flame on. And now we're sanding everything like we did before I showed you. I do that with 1000 grit stick with wet and dry paper on it. Basically, I'm just sanding until I won't see any line in my soldering. So finally we have two parts of the chain, and we are doing the last part for making the shape in those square wired rings. For this technique, I'm using 3mm wire, or I chose to use from that jump ring maker 3mm mandrel. But if you don't have one, you can use 3mm thick wire of copper or brass or silver itself. Of course, you can do that with your parallel pliers as well. In this case, I'm just correcting that it would be straight on the go. When I did all lengths I wanted, I'm putting bezel in it. I won't show you how I'm making the bezel, but I will show you in other video for sure, because this one is very long one. So we're just making the chain and keeping that soldering going. To make melting points just on those joints where we want, we still have to warm a piece a bit, just not to take one side of the jump ring to make it cool, you know, that's why we need a bit of that warmness. But then you will go just on your jump rings and solder that in place. On this video, I even put you in my sink, so we are very in depth here. But I really wanted to show you how you can make that texture and how you can polish your chain, because for chains, most of the times I really use this technique, because you can, you know, not use any tumbler. You can just go straight with your small brass brush and keep that chain shiny. But that shine is more like a luxury satin looking finish, so I really like that. Just look at that chain, it's really beautiful. Hello again. Yes, few days passed for sure, because I had more projects to make, and now we have to finish this choker necklace chain. I don't know. I put that in a tumbler, so we have it more shiny, but I show you the way how you can make it with your brass brush, which is totally good finishing as well. The finishes for me, it's really important. So where my head is leading me, then there I will go. We have a beautiful chain, and we can manipulate with the length on these links. That's why I love bigger chains, because you can do that on this, because I don't like when the chain has those, you know, separate links. Then it just takes all the coolness out of it. So we can have a really short one like this, and I can link it whatever I want. We can have a longer version as well, which I really love on this one. So now we will set the stone in, and I'm really excited because it's kind of that finishing part of it, and I left this guy for some time, so now I'm like, just set the stone in. We'll begin with this one and just glide that metal on by pushing. You have to push because this bezel is thicker one. It comes out from the tumbler. It hardens a bit as well, so it has that spring back. Just going around it and pushing. And you can do the same thing on your table, but table is always more slippery, so that's why I suggest leather pillow or leather scrap, and it would work as well. You can put that as well like this on a table, even more flat. So we're just working on that, going around. You have to use strength on that because we have thicker bezel. If you want to have like quicker job and really soft one, I would suggest those store ones. They have prepared bezel wires, 0.3 millimeter thickness. Yeah, so that would be way simpler to go on. I like the thicker setting, that's why I chose 0.5. You see how my hand is shaky? Because you have to really hold it. If you would put that in Thermalock, that would be not moving and easier to push on. Usually I don't hammer by hand now because I have that hammer attachment to my foredom. For this video, I want to show you that you totally can do that by hand. For that, I will use polished head on this square pusher, and I will hammer that all around. We don't want to rush in this part. Just enjoy the process. You don't want to push it or something. You just want to hold it very gently to your metal and push it all over. You see how it's gliding on even from few hammer punches? I will twist it and I will do that to other side. I really don't want to rush in this one. We're just traveling around that bezel. It moves because my GRS is moving. And that sliding point because I'm a bit lazy to use Thermalock. And I want to show you all the possibilities how we can actually set the stone. I'm pushing on that middle finger, holding fully with my thumb and holding with that showing finger as well. So I have full control of this pusher. It won't slide if I won't lift my hand like this. So I'm like hugging that GRS vise and going like this. And I'm tapping really lightly. You don't need much. You really don't need much. I want to go and turn this around because I need to get in those corners as well. We have all that hammering all the way, and we're finishing the last section with a burnisher. I'm burnishing metal at the same go. When we work with the burnisher, we want to clean that edge even more. All right, we are done. We have a beautiful choker necklace, or just a necklace, how you prefer, I don't know. But it really looks beautiful. I will show you for sure on a photo how it looks like, but I'm really happy with the result. I hope you learned something new or just enjoyed creating process. It takes a lot of time to make a project and to film everything, but I tried my best and I hope you liked it, and I will see you
my next one.